Hello and welcome to How to Communicate Effectively, Part 1, The Basics with Lucinda Atwood. Let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about three key components of clear communication. The first is knowing your purpose, goal, and audience. Then we'll talk about putting the most important information or content first. And we'll finish up with how to be active, brief, clear, direct, and precise. Let's dive in. Let's start with knowing your purpose. Knowing your purpose. So think about this before you communicate. What are you doing? This helps you choose the best platform and what to include. So, for example, are you announcing something to a group? Are you connecting one-on-one with someone? Maybe you're giving them bad news. Are you sending formal or official communication? Or are you sending a quick message to the boss? Maybe you're running late. When you know your purpose, that helps you choose your platform, which is the vehicle you're going to use to communicate. After that, you want to know your goal. If your purpose is what are you doing, your goal is why are you doing it? For example, if you're announcing that team meeting, why are you having a meeting? Is it to announce some information? Is it to work together or brainstorm? So your goal might be to get the project started, or it might be for everyone to know the information you're going to share. In the example of connecting personally, your goal might be to give a direct report feedback so they can improve as an employee and stay with your workplace. If you're giving formal or official communication, your goal might be to cover yourself legally. It might be to establish clear boundaries with someone. It might be to follow rules and regulations. And finally, if you're sending a quick message to your boss, your purpose is to let them know, for example, that you're late for work, but your goal is to maintain that relationship and for them to still think that you are a competent professional. So let's move on and let's talk about the third thing, which is knowing your audience. When you know your audience, it helps you choose the right tone, style, and platform. Now, as you know, all humans are different and we like to be communicated with in different ways. So before you communicate, think about what do you know about your audience? What's their culture, right? You're probably going to communicate quite differently with someone who's 7 than someone who's 70 than someone who's 37. Right? And if they're in your workplace culture, maybe they use the same jargon and technical terms that you use. So you can communicate using those shorthands. But if you're communicating with the general public, you might have to use common words. If you know what they know already, what do they want to know? What do they already know? What do they need to know? So if you're giving them information, what's most important? What do they not need to know? You know how horrible it is to have someone just chat around for hours about stuff that you already know. So we want to avoid that where possible. And how much background or context is required? If you just walk up to someone and say, yeah, it's the yellow one, will they know what you're talking about? Or do you need to back up a little bit? And then finally, you want to think about where they are physically. So when they receive your message, where will they be and what platform will they be using? So if it's an electronic message, something like an email or a text message, are they reading it while seated at their desk in front of a large monitor? Or are they glancing at their phone while they're walking down the hall between meetings? And what else is going on in their environment? How noisy is it? What else is happening? And finally, what other things are they doing? Most of us are trying to multitask at any given moment. So what else is going on for them? Once you think about that, it helps us tailor our message so it's much easier for them to understand and use. Now, let's talk about what to do when communicating. One of my favorite acronyms, give the MEEF. By MEEF, I mean most important information first. This, especially if you are in Western settler business culture where, quote, time is money and we like things brief and direct, people will love you for this. Give the most important information. What's the main point? Especially when we're writing, a lot of us have been trained the opposite. We've been trained to walk the reader through this lovely flower garden of beautiful thoughts and ideas, eventually arriving at the main point. But in Western settler business culture and in many other cultures, we want to flip that. Give us the most important information first. We'll let you know if we have questions. And then after the most important information, you provide any important details. So in the example of my team meeting, most important information, we're having a meeting. And then the important details might be, what is the meeting about? What is the agenda? And of course, when and where are the meeting. And then finally, you can include any necessary background or other information. This sometimes is attached if it's an email, or it might let you know that lunch will be provided or anything like that. And we do this when we're speaking as well as writing, is start with the most important information and then provide the necessary. And then as we're communicating, we want to use our ABCD plus Ps. This helps our audience understand us quickly and easily. Especially when you're writing, use active tense. There are so many people who have so many different first languages. The less complex you can make your sentences, the better. So active tense tends to be briefer and more clear, and it's easier of people with varying degrees of literacy to understand. And by active tense, if you're not familiar with that, active tense would be the dog bit the cat. Passive tense would be the cat was bitten by the dog. In a business example, we might say, here's an active tense is we found a problem with the product. Passive would be a problem was found with the product. Brief, keep it short. Make it clear. And you always want to be thinking from the audience's point of view. What do they want to know and in what order? And we want to start, as I've said again and again, start with the most important thing, then provide the backup details, context, and information. The only exception to this is when we're delivering bad news. That's in a separate workshop, the bad news workshop. We use a different method. But unless you're delivering bad news, always start with the most important. And we want to be precise. Precise helps you be shorter and it helps your audience understand you much more quickly. To give a kind of a silly example, with our team meeting, imagine if you received a message that there's going to be a team meeting next week. You know, how many people are going to show up to this meeting? Probably no one, because it could be any time next week, right? The invitation wasn't precise enough. So that's a silly example, but we want to be as precise as possible in a way that's useful for our audience to help them. So there you go. That's communication basics. Make sure you know your purpose. What are you doing? Your goal. Why are you doing it? Your audience. Who are you communicating with? And to communicate effectively, always use your MEF, most important information first, and ABCD plus P. Keep things active, brief, clear, direct, and precise. Thanks for watching. You have now completed How to Communicate Effectively, Part 1, The Basics, with Lucinda Atwood. Thanks.